Hi, Terence here today to do the reading that you ordered. Thank you, of course, for your purchase. I'm going to be doing a first operation of the opening of the key for you today. And I know you told me that this is your first reading ever, so I am very humbled that you would have chosen me, of all people, to do this for you today, and I really hope that I can be of some help to you, especially since your question I thought was pretty important. Um, Terence asked if he was on the right path, and if because I know you feel, Terence, that your work has sort of gotten in the way a little bit of your emotional life, that you've been more focused on that than maybe what's going on inside, and that you were wondering if this had something to do, if being on the right path had anything to do with reconnecting with your father, who you told me is ill, and I guess he gave you his tarot collection, which I thought was really cool. And you wanted to know if perhaps tapping into that and reconnecting with your father through tarot was maybe a way for you to reconnect with both yourself and him, I guess, if I could kind of paraphrase your question for you, and for people who might be viewing this as a tutorial. So I already picked your significator, Terence. I picked for you, you told me you were an Aries, and so I picked the Knight of Wands for you from this deck, which is sort of equivalent to the King of Wands in the Weight deck, not to be confused with the Knight of Wands from that deck. But anywho, so I used that as your significator, and I already shuffled, and clearly I've cut and all that. And we've already got some really interesting things here. So these are the 4 piles that we got for you today. The fire pile, you have the Ace of Swords. So we're starting off here with a bright idea, with a realization, with a sense of clarity in this situation that is really positive here. And in your water pile, you have the Priestess. Now that is already, the Ace of Swords is strong in the fire pile, but the Priestess is even stronger in the water pile. And I think that speaks immediately to the whole tarot thing, that I think is so interesting. And I think that there is a very strong current of higher help here. The Priestess, as Crowley tells us, or Crowley, you guys know, I go back and forth with pronouncing his name. The Crowley tells us that the Priestess really is representative of higher help and grace and benevolence. And I think in this very strong, very positive placement for her, I think that that's what she's representing here. That that I do think that the intuitive arts are, since it is important to your father, and I think that you have probably inherited some of that, whether you know it or not. I do think that right off the bat, I think it's saying that that's a positive thing for you. Now, in your air pile, you also have lust, and I think that also is a very strong, very good placement for lust. Fire and air get along, and I think that there is a lot of, I think that in the process of learning tarot, that you could kind of awaken here something something very powerful within yourself. And I think there's an energy here that you're starting to look at more closely, that has come into your life, that through trying to reconnect with your father, that I think is very positive here. And then in your final pile, for the earth pile, you have the Knight of Discs. Now, whether this is representative of you or someone else is unclear as of yet. But I kind of get the feeling that this might be you, just because, as you told me, you were very focused on your career lately and with work, and I think that the Knight of Discs perfectly sums up that idea. You being mostly focused on your material stuff and getting your ducks in a row, as they say. And in the background, you have all this great stuff going on. So, but the Knight of Discs is not in a bad position at all. It doesn't say that that's necessarily a bad thing. So we have a very positive start here. I want to say that this is one of the more powerful and positive layouts for this operation that I've ever seen, and everything is in good order, and you have a lot of strong currents of very powerful magical energy going on here, and that is very good in my opinion anyway. But let's figure out what pile you're in. I kind of get the sense that you're in this pile, but yes, and you are. All right. So, yes, you are in the Earth pile. And so the Knight of Discs is definitely a representation of you focusing more on work these days. And so let's see what we've got here. And again, as always, it's a little tricky for you to see everything, especially for the opening of the key. Celtic cross readings are a little easier for you to see all the cards laid out, but this is a little trickier. So I will do my best to make sure that you know what I'm talking about when. Okay, and I'll push this back a little bit. Hopefully that way you can kind of see. Or you know what? Why don't we just move these over, because we don't really technically need them. And we'll just bring this down over here, and I'll try to pan it or something. Okay, so I had started doing a recording of this reading, and I was getting very confused, so I stopped and kind of started all over here, and I just kind of went through it all by myself and did some thinking to kind of get my thoughts in order here, because there's a lot going on here. But here's what I think is generally going on. I'm going to do the pairing first. I actually found that kind of helped me get a sense of who's who and what's what here, and I hope that this makes sense to you. Okay, so from the ends we have the Knight of Discs and Fortune, and I think it's saying that you have been fairly successful, but that this has kind of been a turn of events for you, that that perhaps your luck seems to have kind of turned over on you a little bit, and I get the sense next we have the Knight of Wands and the Eight of Wands, and I think that this is saying that you're very busy, you're a very high energy person. You have a lot of you have a big go-get-'em attitude, but that following that we have the Hanged Man and the Hermit, but that you have for the most part been very much to yourself. You've been keeping to yourself. You haven't been, to say you have a whole lot of energy to contribute. You've been very almost walled up. I sense that you've been so bogged down with work that you haven't really been as open to other people as you might want to be. And I think the other thing too, partially the reason why is I think you really genuinely like what you do. You've been successful with what you do, and I think that what you do brings you happiness. You have the Three of Cups and the Six of Discs paired. But then we have the Queen of Discs and the Hierophant. And from here on in, we start getting cards that I think are representative of your father. And I get the sense that your father has a very maternal energy to him. And I don't know if he's kind of like a homebody or just is kind of nurturing, or just a very practical guy. But I get the sense that your dad has been is the type of guy that you go to for practical advice. That's kind of what I get from this, because you have the Queen of Discs and the Hierophant paired together, and following that you have the Prince of Discs and the Queen of Swords. So these two sets of pairs, I think, really, because I was looking through this reading, and you don't really have any other figure that really, besides yourself, represented as sort of both the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Discs. You don't really have any other people in this reading that are represented with a masculine energy other than the Prince of Discs. And around the Prince of Discs are revolving these two female figures of the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Discs, which is a little more which is a little closer to the Prince of Discs than the Queen of Wands, which is interesting. But I think that those two female personalities kind of represent aspects of your dad's personality. And then over here we also have the Queen of Swords, which may also represent another personality, another aspect of your dad, but I don't think it's a particularly strong one, nor is it one that even really needs to be talked about a whole lot in this reading because it's very weakly aspected. But from there, we get this idea that your dad is a source of advice and counsel for you at this time, and I think from there, you have the Queen of Swords and the Prince of Discs, and I don't know if your dad has regrets or feelings of, I don't know, I almost get the sense that he's possibly just in the process of trying to be more open with his emotions, I think, and be a little bit more forthcoming with his thoughts now lately because of his illness. I mean, perhaps he feels that since he doesn't perhaps think that he has a whole lot of time left or something like that. Or he just isn't sure of how things are going to turn out. And so I think he's become a little bit more verbal about things and communicating his feelings to you. And from there we get the Empress and the Ten of Discs. Now, I get the sense that this is representative of this collection that he's given you. I was trying to think what this could possibly mean, and I think, his tarot collection for him represents a real treasure, and it's a treasure that he has cultivated over the years with a lot of love. And I do think that in handing this on to you, he is sharing with you something very special and very important to him. And I think that, following that we get Death and the Queen of Wands, and I don't mean this to sound like, your father is dying, but I do think that in some ways his enthusiasm, his passion for this has been deteriorating, perhaps because of depression or something like that. And I think that in some ways he's letting go of it and is hoping that you'll carry it on. And I do think that, following that we do get the Six of Wands and the Nine of Wands. And I see this as, I think it's saying that if you stick with this, and if you do take these cards into your life, and if you do start to use them more, you're going to be successful with them. And I think that it's going to make him happy to see you tap into them and use them. And I also think, your overall outcome for the pairing is the Magus, and I actually think that you're going to discover that you're actually quite good at it, that you do have a talent for them, that you just haven't tapped into yet. And I think that this could be a very pivotal moment for you to not only empower yourself, but also I do think that this is a very important opportunity for you to reconnect with your dad and to help him, if this is, the worst and this is a transition into the final stages of life, then this is an opportunity for you to give him some comfort and to give him some happiness. And I really do think that this is this is something that he really wants, and I think that it would be it would not be right of you to ignore that. I really encourage you to tap into this. As I said before, with your 4 piles, you have a tremendous amount of strong energy here, and I really think that the universe is encouraging you in this direction, and I really hope that you do continue with this and do try to learn about the cards, whether it's from him or on your own. But I think he would be more than happy to share his knowledge with you, and I think that that would be a wonderful way for you to not only get in touch with the cards, but get in touch with both your dad and yourself more. I think what's interesting here is, the tarot is such a way for us to attempt to connect with others in a way that we don't necessarily get to, even if we think we know that person really well. We sort of connect with even strangers, on this kind of intimate level. And you're in a period of your life right now where it seems like you're having difficulty making connections with people because you're so buried in work. And I think that this might be the universe's way of trying to pry you open a little bit. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that, if anything, you should try to welcome that. Okay, so now I'm going to attempt again to do the counting portion of the reading, and I'll see if I can kind of clarify or come up with something better than what I had before, because I'll tell you, it was not particularly good before. So, as far as my reading ability, not that the content was bad. Okay, so again, starting over here, we have you represented by the Knight of Wands, and right away I see you very much grounded in work right now. And, I think your father, again, I get this sense that your dad has been a kind of maternal energy for you in life. Your dad is very, very generous. He's a very giving guy, and he's a very, he's just very, it's the word I want to say, faithful, and not in the sense of believing in a higher power necessarily, or being faithful as in Catholic or anything, but being faithful in that he's dependable. And he seems like a really good guy, and maybe not necessarily open with his emotions in the past, but I think that's starting to change. And I do think that, he is trying to share some of his work, some of his life with you here. And it's something that he has been passionate about for a long time, and it's something that he has developed over many years. And again, it is a treasure to him, this tarot collection, and these skills that he's developed. And I do think that it's very important for him to share these with you. I think I kind of get the sense that this is something that he also has been pretty successful with, in the same way that you've been successful with your career, in the same way that you've been successful with your stuff. I mean, I think that the tarot stuff is a source of pride for him. Despite the fact that he is going through a difficult and painful change, I think that this is something that this ability of his is something that he finds joy in, that he enjoys the recognition from, and I think that it's something to kind of I don't want to say distract, but something to alleviate whatever emotional burdens he may be going through, as I think he feels that he may be dying. And it doesn't say whether or not he actually is, but I think he feels that he is. And so for him, this is kind of a balm for him. And sharing this with you is a kind of is can provide healing for him. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential for you to bond with him. From the next card, we get the Three of Cups, and this is very positively aspected. I think and aspected by the Hierophant particularly. I do think that if you take the time to listen to what he has to say about all this, and if you take his advice and just listen, I think that you can really deepen your connection with your dad and, again, find a deeper happiness with your relationship with him. Now, I get the sense that, part of this, perhaps part of why you've maybe dug your heels in or been a little uncertain about whether or not this is right for you is because you know that your dad has put so much energy into this and has had so much patience in this field for so long that I think the task before you seems a little daunting to you. And you're the kind of guy, you're used to just, like, I think you're used to things coming kind of easily to you in a sense. You expect to be able to get things done quickly. Again, you're such a busy person and you get things done quickly. And you're in Aries, you don't naturally have a whole lot of patience. Whereas your father does. And I think you wonder if you would have the same ability, the same patience to be able to get through this, to be able to learn all these different cards and whatnot and reading techniques. 6, 7, 8. But, yeah, I think, this comes back to this idea of patience. We come back to your dad as the Prince of Discs as having a lot of patience in this and a lot of love for this. 3, 4. Again, he's put a lot of time, a lot of love, a lot of energy, and he has a lot of skill in this. He's good at reading. He is, I can tell. And it's something that, again, he's cultivated over a long time. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I kind of get the sense that I get this sense that, what is required here, we get the Hanged Man next, but it's aspected by the Three of Cups. And I do think that while you think that what you want is something more fast-paced, I think that this is an opportunity for you to slow down. And I think you will find great happiness and pleasure in slowing down and taking some time to absorb some of the wisdom that your dad has. Your dad is a smart guy, I can tell, and your dad has a lot to share with you. And again, soak it up, my friend, while you still can. Okay, then we get the Wheel of Fortune from the Hanged Man. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think that I think you're worried that luck is going to change on you again really quickly. I get this sense that you're a little nervous that anything can happen at any moment. now, and there's more of a sense of it could happen whenever, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the last card we come to is the Queen of Wands, which I think is representative of your dad's love for tarot. And I think his love for connecting with people through tarot. I think that that's what the Queen of Wands is expressing to some extent here. Um, yeah, I mean, the Queen of Wands really represents, your father's appreciation for this, his love for this, his hard work at all of this, his talent for this, and um, I think that he really, I do think he really wants to teach you, and I think that you just have to be open to it. Um, I think that this is maybe a difficult reading, but I think that yes, absolutely, this is the right path for you, and yes, I think that this is definitely something that you should pursue. I think that it's telling you that if you do just take the time and try to slow down and try to really appreciate this aspect of your dad's life, I think that there's a lot to be gained from that, both for yourself and for him, you know. And I'm getting this really, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just empathizing with this reading for you, but I feel like this kind of sad happiness inside right now, and I don't know. I get this sense that yeah, this is right, and I'm really feeling like this is right for you, and I think that you're going to be good at it when you learn how to do it, and just absorb it all, because the last thing you want is for that moment to come that we all dread, and for you to wish you had done something differently. So don't have any fears or doubts about this. Don't doubt yourself, and don't wonder if you're not going to be able to get along with him as he tries to teach you, because he wants to teach you so badly, I can tell. And I really, he wants you to learn, and he's very willing to teach you, and I think you just have to be willing to learn. I think even if you do have a hard time with it at first, which it doesn't seem to indicate in the first place, but even if you do, I just think he's going to be so pleased that you gave him the chance. So yeah, I mean, please, this is such an expression of your dad's love, and I think that by sharing this with you, he really is trying to express to you um, a deep love. I think he is, by giving this collection to you and asking you to do something with it. I do think that he is trying to tell you very strongly that he loves you. You know, um, and that this is important. Sorry, I'm getting choked up because this is tough stuff. But that this is important for him, and yeah, I think that's about it. So anywho, so I hope that all makes sense. I hope that is helpful for you, and I do hope that you take the advice. If you have any questions, if it didn't make any sense, please let me know. I will be happy to do something else for you. Possibly something a little simpler like the Celtic Cross, and maybe we can kind of make things a little bit clearer. But I think that this is definitely what it's saying. And yeah, again, I hope it's helpful. And I wish you the best, you and your dad. I hope things do improve. And yeah, I wish you the best. So thank you so much, Terence. I was honored to be your first tarot reader, and I wish you the best of luck. Okay? Thank you.